right. Hello once again out there to all of you, our listeners out there in the Cotton Belt in points unknown from California to the Carolinas. We welcome you back to this Cotton Companion podcast. That one too. We are back with this, the 24th episode of the world famous Cotton Companion podcast. I am Beck Barnes, editor and publisher here at Cotton Grower Magazine, and I'm here with my partner in crime, Cotton Grower Senior Editor, Mr. Jim Steadman. Hello, Jim.
Beck, hello, and hello to everybody out listening to us.
We are coming at you live from our office here on the outskirts of Memphis, Tennessee. Today is Thursday, November 10th, and man, there's just not any news to report to y'all this week, right? I mean,
it has just been slow. Maybe for the last couple of weeks, too.
No, quite the opposite. This week has been a wild one. Since we last came to you guys, you know, it's been quite an eventful little fall season here. The Cubs have won the World Series. 2 days ago, Mr. Donald J. Trump was elected President-elect of the United States. And most recently, EPA, just yesterday, I believe, registered Monsanto's Dicamba formulation, Extendamax with Vapor Grip technology, something that we have been waiting on for a hot minute here out here in the Cotton Belt. So that last one we will certainly dive deeper into as we get later on into our podcast. I hate to disappoint all of you diehard politicos out there. We are not going to dissect the presidential election this week. You wouldn't want to hear Jim and I's opinions on all that stuff. But we are going to be talking cotton production. So we want you to hang with us through that. Before we go to our first break, I want to take a quick opportunity to remind y'all to take our acreage survey. We each year throw out the very first acreage projection of the coming cotton planting season, and we do that on the back of our survey that we conduct during these fall and early winter months with you guys, our readerships. Nobody knows better how much cotton is going to be planted in the belt next year than those of you who are actually doing the planting. So we reach out to each of you. It's a very simple 6-question survey. And the biggest question we ask you is, how many acres are going to be planted in cotton in your state? Now, this is important. Not on your farm, but in your state in 2017. And we rely on you guys predominantly. We're also going to reach out to the extension community and others in the cotton associations who have educated guesses on this thing. Anyhow, it all comes together in our January issue when we put out our acreage projection that kind of sets a baseline for what it really gives us an idea of the health of the industry leading into the next season. So, enough of my babbling about it. Let me tell you where to go where you can take this short, quick 6-question survey if you have a spare 5 minutes.
That's easy for you to say right now.
Yeah, right. Quick 6. Yeah, I got it. So, anyhow, if you'll just go to www.surveymonkey.com/r/cotton 2017. I'll give it to you again. www.surveymonkey.com/r/cotton 2017. Go there, do us a favor, take 3 minutes out of your day, answer those 6 questions. You ought to feel better about yourself.
Obviously, the more input we have, the more accurate our projections will be.
Absolutely. So, as always, we thank y'all for your participation on that. So, now that that's out of the way, let me tell you, we got a great show lined up for you today. We are going to start, like we always do, with Jim leading us in a discussion of the latest breaking cotton headlines. So, we're going to take a quick break right now. Hang with us, and we will be right back.
Cotton Grower Magazine has the honor of saluting exceptional sacrifice and contribution to the cotton industry through our annual Cotton Grower Cotton Achievement Award. Since 1970, Cotton Grower has handed out this distinguished honor to one individual who demonstrates tireless dedication to the cotton industry through involvement, innovation, and leadership in those issues that have a large impact on U.S. cotton as a whole. Achievement Award winners are chosen after extensive research and thoughtful input from around the industry. Cotton Grower offers sincere gratitude to Case IH and to Delta Pine for sponsoring the Cotton Grower Cotton Achievement Award. In joining the effort to recognize and honor industry leaders, these companies demonstrate their devotion to the cotton industry and their desire to see growers succeed.
Welcome back to the Cotton Companion, the 24th episode, as Beck mentioned earlier. And we're going to take a quick look through some of the news items that have occurred in the industry over the last few weeks since last we visited with you. And we're going to start, just like we always do, with a look at USDA's crop progress report. Now that we've moved into the short rows of the season and cotton harvest is certainly either complete or well underway in all parts of the cotton belt, the only thing that USDA is really sharing with us at this point on a weekly basis is the cotton harvested numbers. Because quite honestly, at this point, crop condition doesn't matter, and if you're harvesting, obviously your bowls are open. So, for the week ending November 6th, USDA says 56% of the U.S. crop all across the cotton belt had been harvested. That's a 10% jump from the week before. When you look at it on a state-by-state basis, it's safe to say that the Mid-South states are pretty much all but complete at this point. But there were some significant jumps in the past week in terms of harvested acres. California took a 24% jump. Both South Carolina and Virginia jumped 20%. And the folks in North Carolina, hopefully that were able to salvage as much cotton as they could following the flooding from Hurricane Matthew, they made a 19% jump. So things are progressing, and when we come back to visit with you again next time, I suspect we will be looking at harvesting numbers somewhere up in the 80 to 90% range.
I bet so. That number's going up quick.
It is moving quick. And
our takes are so hot on the podcast here. There's a car alarm going on outside going off outside our window.
Hopefully there's no police action and we are in no danger of being raided.
Yeah, so hopefully y'all aren't being distracted by that.
If you hear a loud crashing noise, someone has just smashed in to interrupt us.
That's right.
But regardless of that, we shall forge ahead. This week also USDA released its November World Agricultural Supply and Demand Estimates report, or as we call it here in the studio, the lovely WASDE report.
WASDE, yeah.
And just taking a quick look at some of the summary statements they made for cotton this week. In the past month, they are saying that U.S. cotton estimates include slightly higher production and ending stocks, basically because a larger Texas crop has been partially offset by decreases in the Southeast. Domestic mill use and exports are unchanged. U.S. ending stocks now estimated at 4.5 million bales. Forecast range for the marketing year average price received by producers is in the 63 to 71 cent per range per pound, with a midpoint of 67 cents. Looking at it from a world perspective, the world cotton estimates for 2016-17 are showing larger production and ending stocks, due mainly to a 500,000 bale increase that's projected for India now that they have started their planting season. World consumption is virtually unchanged, with world stocks projected at 88.3 million bales. So basically in the past month, I can't say that there's been a whole lot of change in this report. We haven't had a chance to sit down and talk to any of our economist friends since this was released yesterday, but I will be curious to see what it didn't seem to move the market at all today, so I guess that's good news.
What are we at today?
I did not. I have. It's.
I probably could have checked that before I asked the question live on our podcast. Yeah, but it has been, I guess, stagnant here in recent days.
Everything is still staying basically in the 68 to 70 cent range.
Yeah, we'll get OA. We'll get his opinion on that here probably tomorrow. So,
as I'm sure he will always share an opinion.
Yeah,
we love you, OA.
We do.
We do indeed. The next item goes to takes a look at sort of the status on some of the mergers that we've been talking about for the last few months. and these would be the mergers between DuPont and Dow, certainly between Bayer and Monsanto. And a news report this week out of St. Louis is saying that U.S. state attorneys general have joined a federal antitrust probe of the merger between DuPont and Dow, and a separate group of state attorneys general are expected to join a probe of the Bayer-Monsanto deal. None of this really, I think, comes as a great big surprise because these are just huge merger, but mega deals that are going to basically going to undergo some tough and some lengthy reviews by U.S. antitrust enforcers. Right now, according to the report, there are about 7 states, including California, that have joined the the probe of Dow-DuPont's merger. No word yet on how many states are going to join the Bayer-Monsanto investigation. The states obviously are looking at it from a perspective to protect their own agricultural audiences and are concerned that these mergers may raise pesticide and herbicide prices for farmers and therefore have less incentive to compete to introduce better and less expensive products. Now, obviously, the Justice Department is going to have the final say on whether to on what to do, including possibility of filing a lawsuit to stop a merger. But they rely on the states to provide information on how these mergers would affect their areas and conduct joint calls to gather data from the companies as well as from critics and supporters of the deal. So I think we knew when all of these were first announced that there were some pretty optimistic timelines on getting things settled. I think ChemChina and Syngenta are still, we're still hopeful to have something completed by the end of this year. There's some situations going on with regulatory issues in the European Union that look like that's going to be pushed back into 2017. I really and truly don't anticipate seeing a whole lot of action in terms of the actual finalization of these until mid to late next year.
Yeah.
So.
I know for the purposes of the 3 major cotton seed brands that are caught up in that Bayer-Monsanto merger, right now it's full steam ahead, for all 3 of them. I mean, it's the same, this is a big time of year as far as evaluating and introducing the new seed varieties that Monsanto and Bayer will be getting into with their various seed brands. I was just down there in... Well, what little town in Georgia was
Dawson,
it?
Georgia.
Dawson, Georgia, yes.
Shout out to Dawson.
Shout out to Dawson, Georgia. I hope it's cool enough that those gnats are leaving y'all alone at this point. But I was down there 2 weeks ago, or 2.5 weeks ago now, I'm trying to remember. Anyhow, for Bayer's unveiling of their new, multi-million-dollar seed breeding facility that they're building down there so that, they can introduce seeds, in large part in that southeast market that were bred and brought along and developed right there in the southeast, tailor making for those guys. So, there's millions of dollars of R&D, which Bayer really prides itself on, going into a ribbon cutting ceremony in the face of all of this merger talk. And there's, you can say there's uncertainty out there with what's going to happen with all these brands. Well, they're forging right ahead, with their mission of bringing along great varieties to the U.S. cotton market. So it's good to see. It's good to see some stability.
And in a separate vein, I was also in Lubbock, Texas several weeks ago for several field days, including one with the Bayer folks out in Idalou, Texas. And it was the last event that was going to be held at the old Idalou facility, laboratory facility there that had been through ownership by several different seed companies over the years, primarily because Bayer had just finished a new breeding facility along the outer loop in Lubbock. They were actually getting ready. They were in the process of, they'd taken a day off for the field day, a day off from actually moving equipment and moving other items over to the new facility. So much like what you saw in Dawson from a southeast breeding perspective, there's going to be a brand new Southwest, West Texas breeding facility that, quite honestly, is probably open at this point.
Yeah, I would bet so. We got another car alarm going off out here.
Our car alarms are back.
It doesn't fail. It's quiet as a mouse around this building until we hit record on this podcast. So,
we're just like a magnet for noise.
We are.
Absolutely. All right, I got one other news item, and then we're going to get into a little bit more discussion about the hot topics of the day. And this one came across my desk several weeks ago, and I've just kind of been sitting on it and shaking my head every time I look at it, because it really and truly seems like something out of a movie. Think Ocean's 11. Think about that great caper movie where you had a lot of misdirection and a lot of people involved to actually, steal the money from a casino. Quite honestly, this one reminded me of that, but certainly not quite on the same scale and certainly not quite as successful. It comes to us from China. Starting with a simple scheme to stuff cotton, again, another use for cotton, to stuff cotton into air monitoring equipment so that the air being read would be filtered and seem cleaner. Now, let's face it, China has a reputation for not so clean air, and they're trying to put some regulations in place to monitor air, the particulates in air, to help upgrade the air quality standards in the country. But in Xi'an, I guess that's the way you pronounce it, people were doing this to basically get better but false air quality readings. And quite honestly, they got away with it for months until some inspectors finally noticed irregularities in the data.
Which they're false? I was under the impression that they had actually invented
no
a new. Okay,
no,
they were false clean readings. Oh man.
No. And this is where it turned. It goes from Ocean's 11 to Three Stooges pretty much at this point.
Yeah.
It said the plot started when this air monitoring station moved back in February, and at the time the station chief used the move to secretly copy the key to the station and a password for the station's computer. Shortly after that, station employees sneaked in multiple times and stuffed cotton into the sensors, which resulted in abnormal data and affected the normal operation of the National Air Quality Automatic Monitoring System. Not only that, but again, think movie plot here. Station employees deleted surveillance camera video in March to ensure inspectors would not see their actions.
I see.
But the data did them in. So needless to say, the head of the air monitoring station and several members of his staff are now under government detention at this point as they try to examine the entire scope of the scam and see what they need to do. But China's sitting there with a lot of excess cotton, so they were, I guess, were just looking for a new use, a new way to kind of move some of it out of the warehouse. But
I'm all for that. Gotta find something to do with it.
Yeah.
It's like the Chinese Watergate over there, tangentially involving our crops. So we'll keep an eye on it.
Oh yeah, we'll be monitoring that situation closely.
Woodward and Bernstein of Cotton over here will be keeping an eye on China for you guys.
For some reason, my gut tells me we will not hear of this again.
We might not. We might not.
Those are the basic news items, and I guess the other gets into some of the topics that we have discussed, and as Beck mentioned, we've been waiting for an extended period of time.
I was thinking about this yesterday when I first started hearing about Monsanto's Dicamba tolerant cotton,
mm-hmm.
which we now call XtendFlex technology. 2014, maybe? I bet it was 2013 when I started hearing about it through their NPE program.
Right.
Because we have done some work with Monsanto covering that program in the past. And I feel sure I would have heard about, at that time, from their marketing folks, hey, we got this new technology coming along in these test plots, pre-commercial plots now. So, yeah, it's been... What does that make? 3 years?
3 years.
3 years now, right at 3 years since we have been hearing about XtendFlex technology. And I remember, the hope was when you first get a whiff of it in 2013, hey, this stuff's, you're going to be able to use it in 2014. And here we are, November 9.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been waiting, truly anticipating, hoping that this would come through for the sake of, U.S. cotton grower. There's so many. I'm jumping around to a lot of topics that are related to this subject, but for the truly good stewardship perspective of the United States cotton industry, it is good to have new chemistry in our market to protect the other chemistries from developing resistance to them. So
right. And again, during that same time period, you also have to keep in mind that you had the Enlist technology from Dow running on a separate but parallel path. The XtendFlex or the XtendiMax plus VaporGuard technology obviously is the low volatility dicamba formulation for the Delta Pine and other seed companies that are using the B2XF technologies. The Enlist is a low volatility new formulation of 2,4-D called Enlist Duo that delivers the same type of weed control on the varieties that contain that trait out of the Phytogen brand.
Yeah.
But I think, again, going back 3 years on this, it's almost seemed like nobody was making promises for 2014 on either of these.
Yeah.
But they were really optimistic about 2015.
Yeah, and that became, but we're optimistic for, Q4 2015.
Right.
Q1 2016.
Right. And
so before we go on too many more tangents here, that brings us to our news peg. Today is November 10, 2016. This EPA registration of Monsanto's formulation of Dicamba herbicide, and that alone, just as one brand of Dicamba herbicide,
correct,
which is XtendiMax with
Vapor
Grip, has been approved by EPA for you guys to be able to use on your crops next year.
Right. Now, the label does have some specific measures attached to it, as we kind of expected at this point. Now, again, this is the federal label, and some of this could change on a state-by-state basis because they still have to be approved by each state that this is EPA has approved this for. But basically, the restrictions on it, there's no application from aircraft. No surprise. I think that's been discussed from the very beginning. No application when wind speeds over 15 miles an hour. Application only with approved nozzles at specified pressures. That's things we've been talking about and the companies have been talking about in all of their meetings. And the use of buffer zones to protect sensitive areas when wind is blowing toward them. As far as the XtendiMax registration, there is a time limit on the registration. I think that's sort of a common practice EPA puts in place with some of these new technologies. Basically allows the agency to either let it expire or make any necessary changes if there are problems or other issues that arise with resistant weeds or with drift. So again, this initial registration for XtendiMax that came through yesterday is for 34 states, and this is not only for use with with the Bollgard 2 XtendFlex cotton varieties. It's also for use with the Roundup Ready to Extend soybean varieties as well. But out of those 34 states, the Cotton Belt is represented, extremely well. Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Kansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, both Carolinas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, and Virginia. So
is that all of them?
That's pretty much all of the cotton states.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
New Mexico's in there too. Sorry, New Mexico.
Yeah, we apologize.
I apologize. My pen missed you.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's where we stand with the XtendiMax. Now, last week, a week earlier, EPA came out and announced a public comment period for the label amendment for Enlist Duo, which will allow its use on Enlist cotton and extend the product use on all labeled Enlist crops, basically adding 19 more states to the existing label. Again, remember, Enlist Duo is already currently labeled for use on Enlist soybeans and Enlist corn in 15 different states right now. So, Anyway, the public comment period is active at this point. It goes through December 1st.
We would encourage y'all to participate.
Absolutely. You can go to the regulations.gov website and find the EPA docket number that pertains to this comment period. After the comment period closes, obviously, then EPA is going to review all the input, reach a final decision, and that will probably be announced sometime in early 2017. Again, similar to what we found with the Dicamba registration, there's going to be special requirements in place for education, continual surveying and reporting, and the option to make changes to the label within a 5-year period. This label modification is going to allow use of Enlist Duo on Enlist cotton and expand the use on Enlist cotton, corn, and soybeans in all of these other 19 states. So again, after years of waiting and sort of a start, stop, and quite honestly beginning to believe that things just weren't going to happen, here within a 7-day period, we've gotten substantial movement on these two technologies, and it looks like they will both be in place for growers moving into 2017.
I know that the folks at Dow have been confident that this winter was going to be going to come through at some point before planting season next year. They're very hopeful. So that comment period is open right now, guys. I would add, not to beat a dead horse here, even if you don't plan on using Dow's Enlist technology, that technology being out there in the cotton belt protects the technology that you are using, whatever it may be, Liberty, Extend, whatever, on your own farm.
And the other factor in all this too is some of these technologies fit certain geographies better than they do in others. So if you're growing in the southeast and mid-south, the Dicamba technology may be your technology of choice. As you move out into Texas and the high plains and move into Kansas and Oklahoma, where there's a lot of wheat, the Enlist technology may have a much better fit. So again, it behooves the whole industry for people to go in and make comments while we have the opportunity to do so, because we're all facing the same problems in terms of weed resistance and the need for some new tools out there to manage the resistance issue.
That is correct. Was that it for
That's it.
all of our news? 6 news items this week. As we said, it's been a busy week. So we are happy to cover it all here at the Cotton Companion Podcast. Now, for the moment, we want to take a quick break, wrap things up there, and on the flip side of this thing, we'll be back to get you out of here. So stick with us for this one short break. So, all right, that'll just about do it for this installment of the Cotton Companion Podcast. We want to thank you sincerely for joining us again and encourage you to, if you do like what you're hearing here, by all means, tell your farmer buddies about us. We know that hundreds of you are tuning in each time we release one of these bad boys, so we want you to tell your friends about us, tell your neighbors about us, tell your family, your farm family and friends all about the Cotton Companion Podcast. They can find us in 3 easy ways. You can find us in 3 easy ways. The first is to simply go to cottongrower.com, search for the Cotton Companion in the search bar, and it will take you to a page that has all 24 now of our episodes somewhere on that landing page. The second, another good way to find us, if you have a smartphone, an iPhone, subscribe to our channel on iTunes. If you're familiar with iTunes on your smartphone, you simply open up the iTunes app, search in the search bar for the Cotton Companion Podcast, and you should see our nice logo that our art designer Wally drew up for us so many months ago. Click on that thing, subscribe, and if you would, leave us a rating. Let us know what you think of our pod. Hopefully it's a 5-star rating, but if not, let us know what we can do better. Now, the third, and what I believe to be the best way for you to receive each installment of the Cotton Companion podcast, sign up for our weekly e-newsletter. Now, Jim here works hard to pack that thing with all of the relevant news of the day, and it hits your mailbox like a clock, like clockwork is what I mean to say there. Man, I mangle cliches sometimes.
We've been in the field too long.
Yeah, we have. Yeah. That thing, like clockwork, will hit your email inbox every Tuesday morning, and occasionally as we get later in the year, it'll hit your email inbox on Thursday mornings as well. Again, all of the relevant news items of the day concerning U.S. cotton and cotton around the globe can be found in that. Now, you can sign up for the e-newsletter by simply going to our website, www.cottongrower.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page there, and you will find a little link that says subscribe. Click on it, and it will walk you through being able to subscribe to our e-newsletter. Lastly, please make sure you're following us on social media. We are out there and active. On Twitter, we are at Cotton Grower Mag. And on Facebook, you can find us by simply searching for Cotton Grower Magazine. We do hope you are enjoying our latest issue, which by the time you hear this will be the November issue, which is hitting mailboxes now. We've got a great summary of all of the various seed varieties that will be available to you in 2017. So you want to be informed, please, check into that one, read it from front to back. This podcast is produced by the marvelous Mr. Marcus Antonelli. He works at the mothership Meister Media Worldwide in beautiful Willoughby, Ohio. My name is Beck Barnes, and I will be back with you in 2 weeks on the next episode of The Cotton Companion. For now, on behalf of my own Cotton Companion, Jim Steadman, we wish you and your operation all the best.